The general snatched her medal. Seconds later, the truth shocked him. The auditorium was packed. Rows of soldiers in crisp uniforms, families beaming with pride, and commanders lining the stage. Today was the medal ceremony, a day meant to honor bravery, dedication, and sacrifice. Among the recipients was a young officer, Lieutenant Sarah Morgan. She was quiet, reserved, almost blending into the crowd. Her uniform was impeccable, medals polished, boots shining, but there was an air of calm confidence around her, a presence that wasn't just learned, it was earned. The ceremony began with speeches. Generals praised courage. Soldiers stood tall. Families clutched cameras. And then came the moment everyone was waiting for, the awarding of the medals. General Donovan, a stern man with decades of military experience etched into his face, strode forward. His eyes scanned the recipients, stopping briefly on each one with practiced evaluation. When he reached Sarah Morgan, his gaze lingered only a moment, just enough to assume she was another decorated officer. "Step forward," he commanded. Sarah moved with steady precision. Her boots clicked on the stage as she approached the general. She kept her head high, her expression calm, her posture flawless. There was nothing to indicate she was anything beyond a capable officer. The general looked down at the medal in his hand, a small but prestigious recognition of valor in combat. "Congratulations, Lieutenant Morgan," he said, placing the medal around her neck. But as the medal touched her uniform, he added with a sharp tone, "Remember, no one's saving you out there. Make sure you earn every inch." A murmur spread through the auditorium. Some officers stiffened. Families exchanged uncertain glances. Sarah's eyes flickered ever so slightly, a shadow of a smirk, unnoticed by the crowd. She had heard that line countless times. No one's saving you. It was a warning, a reminder, a challenge. But it didn't scare her. Not because she was arrogant, but because it was the truth she lived every day. You see, Sarah Morgan wasn't just any officer. She wasn't just trained in tactics, strategy, or leadership. What no one in that auditorium knew, not the general, not the families, not even some of the other soldiers, was that Sarah was special forces. Trained in operations so covert, so dangerous, that most of the military didn't even know she existed. Her calm demeanor, her flawless posture, her unwavering gaze, they were the marks of someone who had survived situations others couldn't imagine. And now, standing on a stage, being handed a medal by a man who had no idea what she was capable of, she felt the thrill of quiet amusement. The general stepped back, satisfied with his warning. "Carry yourself with honor, Lieutenant." Sarah nodded, returning the salute, but inside, she was already planning, calculating. Every word, every glance, every gesture, she knew the truth of the battlefield. And this ceremony, this medal, this warning, it meant nothing compared to what she had faced and what she could do. The audience applauded, unaware of the storm that lay beneath the calm exterior of the officer in front of them. The general thought he had given advice. Sarah Morgan thought, "I don't need saving. I am the one who saves." And in that moment, the seeds of tension were planted, a quiet storm about to be unleashed, a revelation that would leave every officer, every soldier, and every general stunned. The applause in the auditorium faded, replaced by murmurs of curiosity. Officers whispered among themselves. Families smiled, thinking the ceremony was over, but Lieutenant Sarah Morgan's mind was already elsewhere. General Donovan returned to his seat, satisfied he had delivered his warning, "No one's saving you." But Sarah had heard that phrase countless times, in jungles, deserts, and urban war zones. In training exercises designed to break the strongest, in operations where failure meant death. She adjusted the medal around her neck subtly, her fingers brushing the cold metal. It was a symbol, a reward for courage recognized in the open. But medals didn't define her. Skill, survival, and precision did. As the crowd began to disperse, Sarah's eyes scanned the room. Every exit, every officer, every movement. Instinctively, she was aware of her surroundings. Special Forces training had made her hyper-alert. She noticed what others didn't, a subtle tension in the general's aides, a soldier carrying a rifle incorrectly, a door that wasn't properly secured. It was all minor, unnoticed by everyone else, but not by her. A sudden commotion at the back of the auditorium caught her attention. A drill, a simulated threat, but her reaction was immediate. Sarah dropped into a low stance, scanning the room, hand brushing against the concealed holster at her waist. The general noticed her movement, a flicker of curiosity in his eyes. "What is she doing?" he muttered under his breath. Sarah didn't answer. She never did unless necessary. Her presence alone commanded awareness, a silent warning that she was not to be underestimated. One of the junior officers stepped too close to the stage, fumbling with a ceremonial rifle. In a fraction of a second, Sarah was there, guiding, correcting, ensuring no mistakes. Her touch was precise, her voice calm yet authoritative. The officer froze in awe, realizing that this wasn't the behavior of a regular lieutenant. And then, as the general looked on, Sarah's eyes locked briefly with his. No explanation. No revelation. Just the hint of a storm beneath the calm exterior. He frowned subtly. Something told him she was different. Different in a way that didn't belong on a medal ceremony. Different in a way that could change everything he thought he knew about the officers under his command. The room had returned to order, applause resuming for other recipients. But Sarah's mind was already on the next step, a subtle mission unfolding in the back of her mind. Every muscle, every thought, every instinct was ready. General Donovan glanced again, this time lingering longer. His curiosity grew. The officer he had just warned about, the one who apparently needed saving, had just demonstrated a level of control, precision, and calm that was unsettling. What the general didn't know, and would soon discover, was that Sarah Morgan wasn't just brave. She wasn't just capable. She was trained to survive situations where no one else could. And anyone who underestimated her was about to learn that lesson the hard way. The medal ceremony continued, but the tension had shifted. The audience believed they were celebrating bravery. Sarah knew she had already proven something far greater: authority, skill, and lethal precision hidden behind a calm exterior. And the storm beneath that calm was only beginning. The auditorium's chatter faded as a sudden alarm rang out. A staged threat, part of the day's final evaluation, had been triggered in the back hall. Soldiers looked around nervously. Families stepped back, uncertain. General Donovan's brows furrowed. "What's happening?" he barked, scanning the room. Without hesitation, Lieutenant Sarah Morgan moved. Her training kicked in instantly. Calm, measured, precise. She didn't panic. She didn't hesitate. Every step she took was deliberate, every movement a command without words. The junior officers froze. Many had no idea how to respond. But Sarah knew. Special Forces had drilled this into her muscle memory, entering hostile zones, neutralizing threats, protecting innocents under impossible conditions. She slipped through the crowd, weaving between civilians and soldiers. Her hand rested on the holster at her hip, but her presence alone commanded respect and space. Soldiers instinctively stepped aside, following her lead without question. Through a doorway, she spotted the source of the alarm, a malfunctioning prop triggering chaos, creating panic in the far end of the hall. A group of cadets had gathered, unsure what to do. "Stay calm," Sarah barked, her voice cutting through the panic. Not loud, but undeniably authoritative. "Follow my lead. Move to cover." In seconds, the room aligned under her guidance. Soldiers, cadets, and staff moved efficiently, guided by her precise instructions. General Donovan watched from the stage, his jaw tightening. He had warned her earlier, "No one's saving you." And yet here she was, single-handedly controlling a chaotic situation with the skill of someone who had faced far worse in real combat. Then, the final moment. A smoke flare had activated dangerously close to the main audience. Without hesitation, Sarah moved forward, extinguishing it with practiced efficiency. Every eye in the room widened, even the generals. The alarm finally ceased. Calm returned. Families clapped nervously, officers exchanged astonished glances. And then, all at once, the room seemed to realize something. Sarah Morgan wasn't just another decorated officer. She was Special Forces. Every movement, every calculation, every command told a story of someone trained to survive where no one else could. General Donovan slowly stepped forward. His eyes, wide and serious, fixed on her. He had just witnessed authority, skill, and calm under pressure that far exceeded any standard ceremony. He held out his hand, hesitated, then, deliberately, he saluted. Sarah returned it perfectly, poised, unwavering, the weight of her training evident in every inch of her posture. The entire auditorium froze, watching the transfer of respect. For the first time, the general understood the truth behind his earlier warning. No one's saving you, indeed. But this officer didn't need saving. She was the one who saved others. The applause that followed wasn't for the medal anymore. It was for the revelation of her true strength, skill, courage, and leadership beyond measure. And in that moment, Sarah Morgan had claimed something far greater than recognition. She had claimed the respect she had earned, silently, flawlessly, and undeniably. The auditorium was silent. Every soldier, every officer, every family member watched as Lieutenant Sarah Morgan stood tall, her uniform immaculate, her medal gleaming under the overhead lights. The chaos had passed, but the weight of what had just happened lingered in the air. General Donovan stepped forward, his face serious, his gaze steady. He had seen countless soldiers perform acts of bravery, faced situations where discipline and courage were tested to their limits. But what he had witnessed moments ago, Sarah Morgan's control, precision, and calm authority, surpassed everything he had experienced in decades of service. He cleared his throat. "Lieutenant Morgan," he said, voice carrying across the hall, "you have not only earned this medal, you have earned the respect of every officer and soldier present here today." The audience held its collective breath. Even the staff and junior officers, who had once questioned her calm demeanor, now looked on in awe. Donovan reached for the medal again, not to award it, but to adjust it, a gesture of care and respect. Then he raised his hand. A salute. Slow, deliberate, commanding attention. The general's salute wasn't just a formality. It was an acknowledgement of true skill, of authority proven under pressure, and of a soldier who had demonstrated what few could. Sarah Morgan returned the salute flawlessly. Every movement precise. Every inch of posture perfect. The medal caught the light, reflecting both her calm confidence and the respect she had earned. Then, one by one, officers and soldiers in the room followed the general's lead. Salutes were given across the auditorium, spreading in waves. Even those who had doubted her stood rigid, the understanding clear. This was not just recognition, it was honor. The families looked on, some confused, some amazed, but all sensing that this moment was extraordinary. They may not have understood the full depth of her abilities, but the impact was unmistakable. General Donovan lowered his hand and nodded once at Sarah. "You've proven what we all hoped for in a soldier. Calm under fire, decisive under pressure, and a leader who earns respect through action, not words." Sarah's expression didn't change, calm, composed, almost serene. But inside, a quiet satisfaction burned. She hadn't sought recognition. She hadn't needed it. Yet now, the acknowledgement from the highest authority in the room validated what she already knew. She was a soldier who had lived every word of her training and experience. The applause erupted, not just polite, but heartfelt. Soldiers, officers, and even the general understood that this medal was symbolic, but the respect it represented was far more significant. In that auditorium, under the bright lights and the eyes of everyone present, Lieutenant Sarah Morgan had shown what it meant to be truly special forces. Not through medals, not through words, but through actions, calm precision, and unwavering leadership. And as she stepped off the stage, the medal resting against her chest, the general's salute still echoed in her mind, a reminder that authority is earned, skill is proven, and true respect is never given lightly.